Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Actors Area. I am your host, Sean Grant, and I want to thank you for joining me today and being here and allowing me to just, share what we basically just share what I have in store for you today. Sorry, bit distracted. Okay, good now. And that comes down to experiencing the power of no. And so what does that mean? What is the power of no? The power of no comes down to being able to stand up for yourself, being able to realize that you are in a place always where you can decide what you allow into your life and what you disallow in your life. And so why is this something that is so important? Well, it's important because unless we can establish boundaries, we're going to fall into a place where we'll be pulled in many different directions. And I'm going to tell you something right now. If you're not experiencing it already, when you start to gain some sort of success, when you start to really excel in what you're doing, you'll be pulled from so many different directions. And oftentimes, if we're not centered, if we're not grounded enough, what will happen is we'll be pulled by people who want to take advantage of us. Now, this is not being negative in any way possible, but it's just giving you an alert as to what you have to look for. I can remember I worked really hard as an actor, and I still do to this day. And I also work just as much on being able to teach, being able to share practical wisdom and advice that I know that can help actors who send me questions through email or through social media. So for me, it's important to be able to be accessible, but at the same time, I can remember when I first started writing, and it was Backstage in particular, and then once again, New York Castings right after that. So let's say from those two sites alone, I am writing for about 5 or 6 million different readers. Okay, so that's a big audience. But anyway, it was funny because before that happened, nobody really ever asked me about, actor this, actor that. But right after these articles were published, I found that people were pulling me from different directions, trying to get me to do certain things, trying to get me to do this, be that. And it was just like mind-boggling in the sense that I was being pulled in so many different directions. And I thought to myself, it's like, okay, now I understand. Anytime you do anything successful, people want a piece of that. And I'm not saying it's bad, but you have to make sure you're taken care of first. Okay. And if you're like me, you may have started life as a caretaker, basically providing for everybody else's needs but your own. And so what happens there is that you tend to put other people first, thinking that will bring you fulfillment, and it only leaves you empty. And I realized this early on in my life after that period of consistently putting other people above me. You don't need to do that. You have to put yourself first. And this relates to you as an actor because there's a lot of times that people are going to want you to do certain stuff. Like, as you spiritually evolve, your friends, your colleagues, your inner circle will change. And what happens is a lot of times as we're moving up that ladder of spiritual evolution, of progression, of succeeding, a lot of the older people from our past will come back into our lives and try to coerce us into doing stuff for them. And I'm telling you right now, it's okay to say no. It's okay to say you don't have the time. And it's even okay to say, you know what? I'd rather do something more profitable with my time. I'd rather be in a position to allow myself to devote my time to something that's going to move my life forward. You see, I had the issue of always focusing on stuff that wasn't going to move me forward to where I could see myself in a certain amount of time, basically move me towards my goals. And, I realized that this was a problem because I was saying yes to everything. That's what it came down to. I was just saying yes to everything. Like I'd set my sights on writing a script one day, and I was so excited about it and just so grateful and just basically having a complete fit, in a good way about getting ready to start this script. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting all these requests to do this, to do that, to do this, to do that. And at that moment, you have to say, okay, what's most important to me? I understand that's important to you. I understand this is important to them, but what's more important to me? And then you make a point to do that thing. You don't let anything else derail you unless it's just a life emergency or something that you have to do. Usually when you have a family, they come first, which is totally fine. But also just be sure you're making time for yourself. And that is where this subject came from with me this morning when I was thinking of the power of no as an actor. I even wrote a song about it. You can check out on my Instagram later. But that becomes the most powerful thing that you can do, not only just as an actor, but as an individual. And so, from there, people begin to respect you more. People begin to appreciate your yeses because they know that you're just not going to be a yes man or a yes woman, and you're going to say yes to anything that you're asked of. And like I said, if you were a caretaker growing up, you were a lot like me. You thought that by giving your everything to people, that it was going to fulfill you, that people were going to return the favor. And that just doesn't happen all the time, because what we have to realize is most people, not all, most people are absorbed within themselves and they're focused on their own lives. So they're only thinking about what they can get at the moment. Now, I'm not telling you to be mean or like, be in this place of just not helping anybody. But at the same time, think about when it's requested, even if you have to say, you know what, let me get back to you because I need some time to think about this. And that's what's helped me now, because then I realize, okay, I have other stuff. I have other priorities that I need to take care of. I don't need to commit to something that just kind of came out of the blue and it takes away from my time. Because ultimately, it gets back to, how am I going to be better as an actor? How am I going to be better as a performer? How am I going to be better as a teacher? How am I going to be better as a coach, as a writer, as all these things? How am I going to be better as myself if I'm consistently saying yes and giving my time away? Okay? And what this is really about is not being afraid to say no to casting directors, to producers, to directors. We get into that habit of wanting this job and wanting to book that role to the point where sometimes we compromise ourselves. We compromise our integrity just because we don't want to be known as that person that says no. But I guarantee you, people with that type of authority in this industry will respect you for saying no more so than if you just say yes. I remember I was on the set of Vampire's Assistant, and this is one of my biggest lessons. And it was just crazy. So it was an early day. We literally, I'm talking call time, 8:00. And my scenes were done by like 9:15. And so it was a Friday. All the other guys were getting ready to fly home and, spend it with their families and whatnot. And so, we reached that point of, I'm thinking, all right, I'm going home. So I took off this makeup that took 90 minutes to get it on. So I guess the call time was more like at 7 because it took about 90 or so minutes to get that makeup. Anyway, everything went fast. And all of a sudden I get my makeup off. I'm in my street clothes, civilian clothes. And a PA comes in and says, Sean, would you mind staying behind a bit? We want to get some exterior shots of your character moving about. Would you mind doing that? And I'm thinking to myself, hell to the no, I don't want to do this. I'm like, ain't no chance. But at that time, I'm like, I don't want to upset anybody. So I said, oh, yeah, of course I'll do it. This is 25-year-old Sean speaking. And I did it. And, I sat around for about 3.5 hours before they called me and shot something. And once I finished shooting that, they sent me back to the trailer. I took off the makeup, thought I was done. And I sat in my trailer for a couple more hours until the same PA came back. Would you mind staying a little bit longer because we want to get some other shots? And inside I was saying, hell no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to stay. I want to start my weekend. I've already been paid for the day. It's time for me to go. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I can do it. And say, great. I sat in the trailer for 5 hours before they came back and told me, you know what, we're not going to use you. And so the lesson here is, if I would have taken the time to basically just follow my gut instinct, and that's usually what it is. Usually when you want to say a no, you'll feel it from the inside, and it will come up and allow you to say what you need to say. That's what your subconscious, your intuition is telling you to say. But we don't have to be people pleasers. And at that time, I was a big people pleaser. So in being able to see that whole situation and move from it, now I'm able to not do things that don't feel good or that don't support my best interests. People can only respect you for that, okay? So never be afraid to just take back your power and say no when it doesn't feel right. Like I said, this is something that is overlooked all the time, but it's something that we need to have as actors, as people, establishing those boundaries and basically just doing what's best for us. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been awesome. As always, take care. Talk soon. Bye-bye.